In this section, we shall take a look at some basic soldering techniques. For our first demonstration, we will be joining these two solid core wires together. The correct soldering iron bit to use for this job is the wide chisel shape because it can heat a larger area than other shapes can. The wire ends must be cleaned using emery tape or by scraping with a knife blade. This accessory device, called a helping hand, is very useful in the workplace. We will use it to support the two wires being joined. Make sure the soldering iron is up to operating temperature, which is indicated with a flashing lamp on this unit. For standard soldering irons, the temperature can be checked by touching some solder to the bit. The solder should melt quickly into a shiny liquid. To begin the soldering process, the soldering iron bit is wiped on the damp cleaning sponge and tinned with a thin layer of solder. Next, we must tin the wire conductors. Place the bit on the underside of the conductor to heat the conductor up. Then apply the solder to the top, opposite the bit. As the solder begins to melt, the iron bit should be pulled across the wire until the entire conductor is covered with a thin layer of solder, which is the meaning of the term tinning. Next, we make a mechanical join by twisting the two wires together by 3 or 4 turns. This will add to the strength of the connection. The iron bit is again wiped clean and tinned. The join is heated from below and solder applied opposite the bit. Make the join as demonstrated. Use only enough solder to make the connection. Don't build up a lump. The join should not be disturbed for a second or two while the solder sets. The protruding tails can then be trimmed off. A tip when joining stranded wire is to first twist all the strands together before tinning. Let's do another example, this time joining a wire to a solder tag. We suggest the iron bit be changed to a narrow chisel shape for this application. The solder tags and wire conductor have already been cleaned and tinned. We first make a mechanical connection, and then trim off the excess wire. As always, the iron bit must be cleaned and tinned, after which the solder connection is made as demonstrated. Allow a few seconds for the connection to set before disturbing it. A few points to remember when making these connections are, firstly, not to make more than one turn of the wire around a tag or connector. Making more than one turn will make removing the wire very difficult, if required. Secondly, don't use more solder than necessary. Using a lot of solder doesn't make the connection any better. It simply makes your work look unprofessional. And thirdly, always remove the solder wire from a connection before you remove the soldering iron. If you remove the iron first, the solder wire will become attached to the join. Take a break now and get some practice using the techniques just demonstrated.